I think this might be the most important thing I ever talk about, because almost every question about money eventually becomes the same question. How much of your life actually belongs to you? Most people do not dream about being rich because they desperately want a larger number inside a banking app. They dream about a random Tuesday. A Tuesday where the alarm does not go off at 6:30 because somebody else decided when their day begins. A Tuesday where they can take their mother to an appointment without begging a manager for permission. A Tuesday where they can pick their child up from school, work on something they care about, sit outside for an hour, leave town, rest when they are sick, or do absolutely nothing without feeling like their entire life is falling apart. That is what people imagine when they imagine money. They imagine their time coming back. And I think that is the real reason so many people are obsessed with starting businesses, becoming creators, building side hustles, investing, or finding some way out of a normal job. They do not dream about customer complaints. They do not dream about taxes, invoices, shipping problems, or answering emails at midnight. They dream about waking up and knowing the day belongs to them. Because when you really think about it, the normal path asks for an enormous amount of your life. 40 hours a week sounds normal because everybody says it casually. But 40 hours a week for 40 years is around 80,000 hours. And that is only the time you are paid for. Add commuting, getting ready, unpaid breaks, work messages, Sunday night anxiety, the hours spent recovering enough to do it again. The real number becomes much larger. 80,000 hours. That is thousands of entire days. That is your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, a large part of your 50s and 60s. And maybe the job is worth it. Maybe you love what you do. Maybe it gives you purpose, good people, good money, and a life you genuinely enjoy. That is possible. This is not about pretending every job is a prison. But a lot of people do not feel that way. A lot of people feel like they are handing over the strongest years of their life in exchange for enough money to keep handing over more years. They work so they can pay for the home they barely spend time inside. They buy the car they need to reach the job that pays for the car. They wait all week for 2 days off. Then they use those 2 days to recover, clean, shop, and prepare to go back. And we call the final escape retirement. We place it somewhere around age 65 and hope we are still healthy enough to enjoy it. That is the part younger people are beginning to question. You are told to save the trips, save the projects, save the mornings with your family, save the life you actually want until after you have spent most of your healthiest years earning permission to live it. And younger people are looking at that arrangement and asking, what if I do not want to wait 40 years? What if I want some of my life now? That question is hiding behind almost every video about getting rich, escaping the 9-to-5, starting a business, becoming a creator, or building passive income. The language sounds like money. The real subject is time. People say they want $10,000 a month. But what do they imagine doing with it? They imagine quitting, moving, traveling, helping their parents, spending time with their children, making art, building something meaningful, finally sleeping properly. They imagine having the ability to say no. They want money because money appears to be the only thing standing between the life they have and the life they keep postponing. And once you understand that, the obsession with entrepreneurship makes much more sense. People do not necessarily love business. They love what a successful business appears to provide. No salary ceiling. No manager deciding when they can leave. No company able to remove their entire income in one meeting. The possibility that the work they do today could continue paying them tomorrow. The possibility that one great year could permanently change the years that follow it. That is what ownership appears to offer. A salary usually resets every month. You work, you get paid, you spend the money surviving, then you need to work again. A business can grow. A channel can continue attracting viewers. A product can sell more than once. An investment can produce income. A valuable skill can make each future hour worth more than the last. That possibility creates a completely different relationship with time. You are no longer only selling hours. You are trying to build something that remains after the hour is gone. And this is where people misunderstand the desire to get rich. They think it is always about Lamborghinis. Sometimes it is. Some people want status, attention, and a ridiculous lifestyle. But for most people, the fantasy is far more ordinary. They want to visit family without checking whether the flight will destroy the month. They want to leave a job that makes them miserable. They want to help their parents. They want to have a child without immediately panicking about childcare. They want to wake up sick and rest. They want to spend 3 months making something that might fail. They want to stop feeling like every decision has to pass through money first. Money cannot guarantee happiness. It does not automatically give your life meaning. It cannot repair every relationship or prevent every tragedy. But enough money can remove the pressure that forces nearly every hour and every decision to serve survival. A bad month does not become a disaster. A bad boss does not control your future. A broken car does not threaten your housing. An opportunity does not have to be rejected because you cannot afford the gap between jobs. You can absorb life. And that is what many people actually mean when they say they want to be rich. They want enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to choose. Enough to know that the next 40 years do not already belong to somebody else. There used to be a clearer deal attached to a normal career. You worked, your income rose, you bought a home, you raised a family, you built a retirement account. Every decade of work was supposed to make the next decade safer. The job took your time, but the job also moved you towards something. That deal still exists for some people, but for many younger workers, it feels weaker. They can work full-time and still need roommates. They can earn more than their parents earned at the same age and feel further away from buying a home. They can have health insurance and still be afraid to use it. They can save every month and watch one car repair, medical bill, or rent increase erase the progress. They can spend years becoming excellent at a job and still be removed in one meeting because a company changed direction. The fear is not only that work is difficult, the fear is that the work may never lead anywhere, that you could do everything correctly, stay responsible, avoid reckless spending, and still reach 40 or 50 with the same basic problem you had at 22. You still need the next paycheck. You still cannot stop. You still cannot say no. You still cannot take 6 months and figure out what you actually want from your life. You have been working for decades, but you remain one missed payment away from panic. That is what people are trying to escape. They are not always trying to escape effort. They are trying to escape complete dependence. One employer controls the paycheck. The paycheck controls the rent. The healthcare may be connected to the employer. The schedule controls the person's time. A manager decides when they can take a vacation. A layoff can threaten their home, insurance, savings, and future at the same time. That is an enormous amount of power concentrated inside one relationship. Entrepreneurship appears to reverse it. Instead of one employer, you can have many customers. Instead of a fixed salary, income can grow. Instead of building someone else's company, you can own the thing, becoming more valuable. At least, that is the promise. And the internet understands this promise extremely well. It knows people are scared of wasting their lives. It knows they are tired. It knows they look at housing, healthcare, children, and retirement and wonder how one normal paycheck is supposed to carry all of it. So the internet offers an exit. Make $10,000 a month from your laptop. Start a store with no money. Build a faceless channel in one afternoon. Use artificial intelligence to replace an entire company. Trade for 30 minutes a day. Buy this course. Join this group. Use this software. Copy this exact system. The promise is rarely presented as a business. It is presented as your life coming back. They show the beach, the apartment, the car, the flight, the revenue screen, the person waking up at noon. They show the part you want. They hide the part required to get there. The failed offers, the awkward sales calls, the customers who ignore you, the months where nothing happens, the money spent learning, the taxes, the refunds, the competition, the years it took the person teaching you to make the process look simple. And because the fear being targeted is real, the promise becomes incredibly difficult to resist. A person who feels safe can look at a ridiculous business opportunity and laugh. A person who feels trapped may look at the exact same opportunity and think, what if this is the one thing that gets me out? That is how desperation becomes a market. Some people make more money selling escape plans than they ever made using the plan themselves. Their customer is not buying information. Their customer is buying the feeling that their current life is temporary. That does not mean every course is fake. A good teacher can save you years of mistakes. There are people teaching real skills and showing the difficult parts honestly. But you can usually tell what somebody is really selling by what they talk about. Do they talk about customers? Do they explain why anybody would pay? Do they show the costs? Do they discuss competition? Do they explain what skill takes time to develop? Do they show an average month, including the terrible ones? Or do they mainly show what your life will supposedly look like after everything works? Real business usually sounds much less exciting. It sounds like finding one annoying problem and solving it well. Talking to people, improving a service, learning how to sell without lying, delivering when you said you would, keeping records, fixing mistakes, doing the same useful thing after it stops feeling exciting. Spend 3 years becoming useful is much harder to sell than copy this system tonight. But the slow version contains the real path. The internet has made entrepreneurship look common because success is constantly visible. Failure is mostly private. Nobody posts the empty store. Nobody creates a cinematic video about receiving 0 customers. Nobody rents a Lamborghini to explain that they quit after 2 weeks. You see the winner because the winner has a reason to speak. You do not see the thousands of people who tried the same method, received nothing, and quietly returned to normal life. That does not mean you should not try. It means your expectations need to survive contact with reality. Entrepreneurship can still be one of the strongest ways to change your life. But we need to be honest about what it is. It is not an escape from work, at least not in the beginning. In the beginning, it can be more work with less certainty. At a job, somebody usually tells you what needs to be done. The product already exists. There are already customers. There is a payroll system. There is equipment, software, and some reason the company continues to operate. When you start something yourself, all of those questions become yours. What are you selling? Who needs it? Why should they choose you? How will they find you? What does it cost to deliver? What happens when something goes wrong? How long can you continue before the money runs out? That is why somebody can work extremely hard and still fail in business. Effort matters, but effort aimed in the wrong direction can create nothing. You can spend months designing a logo for a company nobody needs. You can upload 100 videos nobody wants to click. You can build a beautiful website for a product nobody wants to buy. The market does not pay you for how serious you felt. It pays when another person believes the result is worth more than the money they are giving you. That sounds cold, but it also makes the path less mysterious. You do not need to invent the next Apple. You need to become useful to somebody. Maybe you edit videos for a business that does not know how. Maybe you clean properties for owners who do not have time. Maybe you tutor students, repair equipment, design menus, take photographs, build websites, organize appointments, write advertisements, create entertainment people genuinely want to watch. The first goal should not be $1 million. The first goal should be making one stranger willingly give you $100 because you solved something real. That first payment proves more than 100 motivational videos. It proves value moved. Then you ask how to do it again. How do I make the result better? How do I find the next person? How do I deliver faster? How do I charge enough that the work is worth doing? How do I build a process so everything does not depend on me remembering every detail? That is how a real business begins. Slowly, awkwardly, usually much smaller than the founder imagined, and often while the founder still has a job. There is nothing shameful about using a paycheck to fund your attempt. Keeping your job can give you time to learn without asking a brand new idea to immediately pay your rent. It can stop fear from controlling every decision. It can help you reject terrible clients. It can give you money for equipment, software, or education. The dramatic story is quitting with nothing and betting everything. The intelligent story is often building proof before removing the floor beneath you. You do not need to escape in one jump. You can build the exit while you are still inside. That may take longer. It also gives the idea a much better chance of surviving. Because the goal is not to look brave online. The goal is to eventually own your time. And this is where I think most people need a number. Not a fantasy number. Not, I want to be rich. A real number connected to a real life. How much does your life cost in 1 year? Your actual life. Housing, food, transportation, insurance, healthcare, family, a little enjoyment, a little room for things to go wrong. Maybe your life costs $40,000 a year. Maybe it costs $60,000. Maybe it costs $100,000 because you live somewhere expensive or support several people. That number matters because freedom does not cost the same for everybody. Someone spending $40,000 a year does not need the same amount as somebody spending $120,000. A rough retirement rule says a person may need around 25 times their yearly spending invested. It is only a planning estimate. It is not a promise, but it gives you somewhere to begin. $40,000 of annual spending points toward roughly $1 million. 60,000 points toward around $1.5 million. 100,000 points toward roughly $2.5 million. Those are large numbers, but the biggest mistake is believing freedom does not begin until the final number appears. Freedom comes in layers. The first $500 saved gives you the ability to handle a small problem without begging or borrowing. 1 month of expenses gives you room when a paycheck is delayed. 3 months gives you time to search after losing a job. A year gives you the ability to take a serious risk. A side income covering one bill makes that bill less dependent on your employer. Investments covering 10% of your life mean 10% no longer has to come directly from your time. A business replacing half your salary changes the kind of jobs you are willing to accept. You do not wake up one morning completely trapped and the next morning completely free. You build pieces of freedom. That matters because the all-or-nothing version can make people reckless. When somebody believes freedom requires $10 million, saving $1,000 feels pointless. A good career feels like failure. Slow investing feels useless. Then a ridiculous shortcut begins to look like the only rational option. But $1,000 is not pointless if it prevents a car repair from becoming debt. A higher-paying skill is not pointless if it gives you $500 more every month. A small business is not pointless if it buys back one day of your week. You do not need your entire life to change at once for your life to become more yours. This also changes how you should look at expenses. Every permanent monthly payment raises the cost of freedom. A $1,000 monthly payment costs $12,000 every year. Using the rough 25 times rule, supporting that payment through investments could require around $300,000 more. That does not mean you should never enjoy your money. A miserable life with a large investment account is not freedom either. It means you should understand what you are attaching to your future. A larger house may be worth it. A beautiful car may be worth it. Travel may be worth it. But every recurring expense asks future you to keep working. The real question is not simply, can I afford the payment? The better question is this worth the amount of my life required to pay for it? That question can completely change the way you spend, because money is stored time. You traded hours of your life to receive it, and when you spend it, you are deciding what those hours were worth. So what is the real path? There is no one path. That is the frustrating answer. It is also the honest one. For most people, it will probably involve 4 things happening together: earning more, keeping enough, owning something, and slowly reducing how much of life depends on the next paycheck. Earning more usually begins with becoming better at something people already pay for. A license, a trade, a technical skill, sales, management, writing, editing, healthcare, construction, accounting, programming. The exact field matters less than the question behind it. Can you reliably solve a problem that is difficult, expensive, urgent, or important? The more useful and harder to replace you become, the more choices you usually gain. Then you have to keep some of the money. That sounds obvious, but many people increase their income and increase their obligations at the same speed. The raise becomes a newer car. The promotion becomes a larger apartment. The better year becomes more monthly payments. Their lifestyle improves, but their dependence stays exactly the same. Enjoying your money is part of living. There is no point spending decades miserable just to die with the highest number. But some of every increase should purchase future time. Build savings, pay off expensive debt, invest, fund a business experiment, buy equipment that increases what you can earn. Use the money to make yourself harder to destroy. Then begin owning something. Ownership does not have to mean a giant company. It can be a retirement account, a small portfolio, a product, a channel, a local service with repeat customers, software, a book, a customer list, a system that can eventually operate without every step being performed by you. The important part is that some of your effort starts producing value beyond the original hour. And while doing all of this, reduce the number of things that can destroy you. One employer, one client, one income source, one car you cannot afford to repair, one bill you cannot survive. The goal is not to eliminate every risk. That is impossible. The goal is to stop allowing one bad event to control your entire life. This will probably take years. That is the part nobody wants to hear. But the years will pass either way. 5 years from now will arrive whether you build anything or not. The question is, what will be different when it does? Will your skills be stronger? Will you have savings? Will you own assets? Will you have customers? Will you have created anything people value? Will you have more choices than you have today? Or will you still be looking for the next shortcut because the previous 10 did not work quickly enough? The fastest way to lose years is to refuse to commit to anything that takes years. You keep restarting. New plan, new business model, new identity, new promise. You spend 5 years trying to avoid a 3-year learning curve. Then you realize the learning curve would already be over if you had stayed. Pick something real. Give it enough time to answer you. Learn from evidence instead of excitement, and make sure the road you choose is building a life you actually want. Because becoming financially free through work you hate can become another prison with a better bank balance. The most important question is not whether you should quit your job. It is not whether everybody should become an entrepreneur. It is not whether a normal career is good or bad. The most important question is simple. Who owns your time? Right now, maybe the answer is your employer. Maybe it is debt. Maybe it is rent. Maybe it is fear. Maybe it is a responsibility you willingly carry because you love somebody. There will always be obligations. Freedom does not mean waking up with nothing to do and nobody needing you. A life with no responsibility can become empty very quickly. Freedom means having a meaningful amount of choice over which responsibilities become yours. It means being able to walk away from something that is destroying you. It means being able to stay with something because you believe in it, rather than because missing one paycheck would ruin everything. It means working on a problem because it matters to you. It means taking care of people without quietly resenting the time. It means choosing the mountain you climb. That is why people want money. That is why they want businesses. That is why they want channels, products, investments, side incomes, and anything that might grow beyond a paycheck. They are not all lazy. They are not all greedy. They are looking at 80,000 hours and wondering whether every one of those hours has already been assigned. They are asking whether life is really supposed to be 5 days waiting for 2, 50 weeks waiting for 2, 40 years waiting for retirement. And honestly, that is a fair question. You only receive one life. You do not get your 20s back because you finally became successful at 60. You do not receive a refund for every dinner you missed, every idea you postponed, or every year you spent saying, maybe later. But panic is not a plan. You cannot build freedom by believing every person who understands exactly how frightened you are. You cannot buy your life back through a course that promises money without value, time, skill, patience, or risk. The real path is less dramatic. Know what kind of life you want. Know roughly what it costs. Become useful. Save enough to create breathing room. Own pieces of your future. Build something small and real. Keep going long enough to become good. Let each year make you less dependent than the year before. Maybe you never become a millionaire. Maybe your version of freedom is a paid-off home, a flexible job, and 6 months of savings. Maybe it is a business with 5 employees. Maybe it is working 3 days a week. Maybe it is enough investment income to spend more time with your children. Maybe it is having the power to stop for 1 year and make a film, write a book, travel, care for someone, or simply think. The number is personal. The desire underneath it is nearly universal. You want your life to feel like your life. So do not spend 40 years chasing a picture of freedom that somebody else sold you. Build the version that would actually matter on an ordinary Tuesday. The morning, the people, the work, the pace, the ability to say yes, the ability to say no, the feeling that your time has not already been taken from you. Most people do not want to escape work. They want to escape having no choice. And that may be the most important thing money can ever buy.